So good morning all, and welcome again to our first TERRATECH Workshop. Thanks all for joining. And today we'll have two interesting sessions. The first one is regarding the Erasmus Plus projects that are running now and are based on agriculture. And after the lunch break, we'll have a poster session from students. So different students will present its main research on agriculture and soil nutrition and crop diseases. So let's start with our first sessions devoted to the Erasmus Plus projects. And the first presentation will be taken by Dr. Gianluigi De Pascale from the Department of Economics of the University of Foggia. And Gianluigi is taking part of the tomato project, and its presentation is entitled Educational Objectives and Developments of Agriculture 4.0 in light of the new multi-annual financial framework and NextGenerationEU. So thank you, Dr. Gianluigi, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm really pleased to join this conference as a keynote speaker. Okay, my presentation is going to address four main points. The first part is, and all the presentation as a whole is addressed by the macro environment that is outlined by the European Commission idea, because in the now than ever, the European policies are those that are addressing the path for a new future, for the transition to achieve new socio-economic goals, I would say, as a whole. And within this framework, the agriculture field plays an important role. So the presentation is going to address four main points. The first one is about the future challenges of the agricultural sector. The second one is about the tools to be exploited to achieve this goal. The third point is about addressing some issues and some solutions on telling us how to cope with these issues. And the fourth point is about our own experience on education, and all the framework of this presentation, of course, is based on the needs of improving the standard or the educational standard within the agricultural sector. Okay, what are the future challenges for the agri-food sector? From the European Commission, we have a general concept that is the sustainability. All the economy should target to be sustainable. And what does it mean? It means that we should achieve a systemic view of the socio-economic systems, and within this systemic views, all the actions to be undertaken should deliver something that is possible in the future. In detail, we mean for sustainability three main dimensions. The first one is about the economic sustainability. That means economic viability, stable and rewarding income through a market orientation and increased competitiveness. One of the key points of the agricultural sector, as you know, as anybody knows, is about the common agricultural policies that over the years has strongly supported the agriculture. But one of the key points is to reduce this support to agriculture and make this field being able to live in the market. So increase competitiveness of the sector. The second point is a general point, I would say, is a common denominator for all the economic sector, that is about environmental sustainability. That means in the field of agriculture, encouraging organic farming, sustainable management of water, soil, air, and trees, enhance agriculture, biodiversity, shift to renewable energy. So we have a circular process within the economic organization in general, and within, of course, the agricultural, the farming organizations. We have lesser use of pesticides and things like that, fertilizers, and the shift to renewable energy, source of energy. The third point is about the social sustainability. That is the third dimension. This is a common objective of the European policies, that is about undertaking, achieving an inclusive growth. And in this context, sticking to the agricultural sector, it means that Social sustainability stands for sustaining society as a whole through a number of essential services, offering safe and sustainable food, fostering resilient and rural communities. So it's going to address two different sides within this war that is the agricultural war. The first part is about food production, the second part is about rural development. And in this context, we have these two sides that normally so far have been considered as being detached each other. So we have rural development to one side that is about everything connected, related to the services offered by this field, that is the agricultural world, this environment, this particular environment, and the way it is connected to the cities in order to avoid urban sprawl and so on. On the other side, we have the production, so the real activity that we know, that we normally associate to the farming activities, that is the food production. The new view is about looking at this field as being a common system. And all these two sides should work, should exchange each other in order to deliver some synergies. And in so doing, the final goal is, of course, a viable and socially responsible agri-food organizations able to preserve the environment and the cultural heritage. And in so doing, the suggestion, the main addressing that is given by this new plan, the new goals of the European policy lie in the adoption of new technologies. So the new technologies will be the tools, the channel to achieve environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, and also connecting people each other, so social sustainability. What are, in general, the future challenges for the agriculture target based on the Green Deal by 2030? So we have high diversity landscape, so at least the 10% of the used agricultural areas should be turned to a high diversity landscape, halving the food losses and minus 20% of fertilizers. Then we have halving pesticides use and risk, land under organic farming, more or less 25% of used agricultural areas, and halving the use of antimicrobials. These are the targets to be achieved in terms of reduction, in terms of improvement of quality, of environmental quality. All these actions should be undertaken at farm level. We have other actions that should be undertaken at supply chain level and consumer levels. And along with this preliminary action, we have the farm to fork actions that should, and supportive policies, and along with what we see for the within the European Green Deal, we have other 8 actions to be undertaken at farm level, and the other 7 actions to be undertaken at food supply chain level, and 4 actions to be undertaken at consumer level. I won't provide detail on this aspect because I saw that you have another presentation related to farm to fork. To achieve these goals, the first point is about avoid knowledge and highly skilled people concentrate in winning places, creating spatial traps for others. This is a key point for regional disparities. All the European areas should communicate each other in order to engage in spillover and allow this knowledge spillover and the skills spillover to exchange, to spread out all over the areas, European areas, I would say. Second point is about that economic organization should be inspired by ideas suitable to respond to the increasingly complexity of social, economic, and environmental bonds faced by corresponding systems. What does it mean? It means that we need for very good ideas. We need for very good ideas coming from all the players, and it is important that all the players will exchange each other. So this is something that can be seen as a systemic action, as a systemic perspective. So there are systemic actions to be undertaken. The first is about that all players should act to achieve the same goals, and for all players we mean the stakeholders as a whole. And we know that stakeholders is everyone conveying, bringing interest for somebody. for something. And in the case of the agricultural field, we have farmers, professionals supporting the sector like agronomists, labor union, etc. Also institutions play a role. Then we have strong and fruitful cooperation among the players and building lifelong networks to support that spillover spread out throughout all the European areas. So it is important that all the action being undertaken somewhere in Europe will spread out around the most remote areas, I would say. Okay, how to achieve this goal? The first, we have tools that are proposed by Europe, financial tools, many resources that have been allocated to achieve these goals. And we have two main channels for these resources. The first one is about the multi-annual financial framework for the agricultural field, agricultural sector. We have the new common agricultural policy budget that will be spent between 2021 to 2027. It is for the common agricultural policies, actually is gonna be is gonna running from 2023 for the common agricultural policy, because nowadays until for the next 2 years, this year, the next years, the policies that is still running is the prior one covering the period 2014-2020. The second channel is about the next generation to support to green transition. So within the recovery and resilience facility, the recovery resilience facility is this common framework offering different opportunities to turn the economies as a whole to something that is greener and that is more digital. So the two main words are greening and digitization. This is an additional channel because it is not, we don't see a next generation, this channel that is NextGenerationEU in prior planning. We know that the multi-annual financial framework are running since the late 80s, and every 6-7 years we have new plans for that. And this is something that is ordinary for Europe. But this new plan, NextGenerationEU, is an extraordinary plan to get over this period, this crisis generated by the pandemic. And what are the amounts of these resources? As a whole, we have 2 trillions, more or less, 1.2 trillion allocated to the multi-annual financial framework, and more or less 800 billion allocated to NextGenerationEU. And within the multi-annual financial framework, we can see that over the time, the resources allocated to common agricultural policies have decreased over time, and also in the last planning, we have a decrease more or less of 3% compared to the prior planning. Anyway, here we find an additional support. So we have this reduction has been balanced by the resources allocated to the NextGenerationEU. This is the more or less the framework of the NextGenerationEU. Of course, this is the general framework because we have the recovery and resilience facility. One side and the other side, we have additional programs. The recovery and resilience facility is the plan that at the national level we know as a recovery and resilience plan that all the states have sent to the European Commission, indicating what are the paths to be undertaken to spend the money, this resource. And with this plan, we have all the action that should be undertaken also to turn the agriculture sector to a greener solution and to a more digital sector. So we have, I would say, when we talk about digitization, we don't have something specifically targeted to agricultural sector, but we can apply to this measure, to these calls that we are going to see published to also for the agricultural sector. If it is not properly indicated that is targeted to agricultural sector, these funds can be used for the agricultural sector because it is I'll say, a transversal priority for Europe. So that are, when we see digitization, when we see greening, we also can deal with the agriculture sector. Okay, here we find the 6 pillars of the recovery and resilience facility. And the first one is about the green transition. The second part is about digital transformation. These are general topics, as I said, and within this topic, we can have our own interpretation for the agriculture sector. Also smart, sustainable and inclusive growth, and also social and territorial cohesion, that is about the inclusive goal to be achieved within also the agriculture sector. So we find also opportunities within this financial allocation, health and economic, social and institutional resilience, policies for next generation. Okay, what is the first issue that we have? We have these 2 different channels. The first one is about multi-annual financial framework, and we have the common agricultural policies, and at the national level, we have projects at the end of this chain. The other channel is about NextGenerationEU, and through the Recovery and Resilience Facility, we have the national plans for recovery and resilience. But what is the first issue? At European level, we have a coordination. We know because they wrote the policies, and they know how these policies should be balanced each other. By contrast, at the national level, we can be faced with many difficulties because we don't know how institutions will manage this fund and how this fund will be actually allocated to projects. And the first point is about who will ensure that there will be a coordination between the projects approach through one channel and the project approach to the other channel in order to avoid overlapping. This is the first issue that should be taken into consideration. And this was just to explain what I was saying. And at national level, the coordination could fail because multi-annual financial framework and NextGenerationEU might finance similar projects disrupting and affecting waste of financial resources. And what about the human resources, public employees that at the national level will manage the funds within public institutions? Are they skilled enough to properly support the accomplishment of the planned goals? And this is a matter of institutional quality. And the institutional quality is well known in the literature that the institutional quality is also determined by education, is also an educational issue. So when the educational standards are not suitable to deliver value, to create value, then we have shortcomings in the institutional quality, and then we have this generating externalities, negative externalities on the process that should support the sound flows of the financial resources when arriving to the projects to be financed. The second issue is about the beneficiaries. So who are the beneficiaries that will be granted? Will they be those who already received grants during the prior programs, those being familiar with the fundraising activity, are already successful on the way that the multi-annual financial framework and NextGenerationEU indicate? So in general, all those that already win the competition are the best ones, because, and the issue is that if just the best one are going to take money, I'm going to get access to these financial resources, disparities will rise. And if disparity will rise, you know that this well-distributed growth development around Europe can fail to be achieved. What about those who are off track? How to involve them? This is another point to be considered. And what about the proposed projects? Are they supporting ideas tailored to increasingly complexity of the socio-economic systems where are called to deal with? So the more the time goes over, the more the world becomes complex. And then we need for trained, skilled people delivering, producing, yielding very good idea, very bright ideas. So this is another point to be considered. And there could arise skill mismatch shortage leading to cost not covered by expected payoff, this being also an education issue. So we have this educational issue, this big educational issue that can be interpreted in these two directions at least. Okay, how to tackle these issues? The human resources public employees should undergo, of course, a traineeship program. But second point, and following the literature, the candidates to receive the funds should engage in partnership involving both those holding advanced knowledge skills and those suffering from the low education level. So nobody left behind. Those that are advanced, that are more skilled, should work together with those that are having lower education level, in order to trigger spillover processes for real knowledge skill uptake by means of exchanging good practices. So anytime you see good practice exchange is the process that should be enacted in order to cope with disparities and allow somebody else located in Europe, somewhere in the areas, to acquire, to become familiar with this good practice and replicate this good practice in order to generate this spillover. What about the stakeholders, practitioners, new entrants to farming, and anybody interested in it? They should take risk and be creative. This is one point that we try to address throughout our course, the course developed within our project, that I'm gonna share with you in a while. So they should be pushed in taking a risk and being creative when they're developing the idea. So supporting the motto, think out of the box, and undertaking actions to create values lying in the ideas, of course. This is another point related to the education issue. So we try to address by offering this opportunity that was Itometo project that has just ended in October. Itometo stands for Training and Orientation for Multifunction Agriculture and Entrepreneurial Opportunities. Here you can find the website. If anybody is interested, you can browse the website. Okay, what is Itometo? Itometo is an European project financed by the Erasmus Plus program. It was financed in 2018, and it dealt with the multifunction agriculture. That means crossing different economic sector, like touristic sector, like social sector, and like agriculture sector, in order to trigger rural development by means of applying sustainable practices, but in order to reduce the use of resource and applying this intersectoral framework. Three dimensions of multifunction agriculture we identify: short food supply chain, rural tourism, and social and didactic farming. We try to address these three dimensions. We outlined a blended course in the field, of course, of multifunction agriculture. We, the knowledge alliances means bringing together higher education institutions and companies in order to cover the skill gap that there is from the practical world and the theoretical world. So it aimed at improve the theoretical and practical competencies and capabilities of the new farmers in order to make them be able to think and undertake multifunction. That is a paradigm of economic, environmental, and social sustainability. Of course, at the end of the course, some students were allowed to access this international mobility that, due to the COVID outbreak, we turned to a national experience. Of course, the experience was financed by the project. How the project, the course was structured: we had an introduction module introducing the general skills, the umbrella skills, covering all the aspects of how to manage a farm, what are the key principles, and introducing the two tools that we developed throughout our project. It are the readiness tools and the business model canvas. The second part is about e-learning modules. So addressing three different e-learning modules, 10 hours each one, on short food supply chain, rural tourism, and social and didactic farm. At the end, we of this course, we asked the student to prepare their own project to defend this idea at the time of the exam that was called the business model competition. Say, the students were asked to compete in order to defend the idea, to convince the evaluators that the idea was the best. And the two winners were allowed to access the business, the internship experience, work-based experience. Expectation that we had, okay, I missed to specify that we strongly pushed this idea, think out of the box, to be creative, to take risks, to cooperate each other, to look around to find, looking for good practices and replicating these good practices within their model. And at the end of the course, the learners were expected to be able to understand the real needs of multifunctional agriculture, assess the readiness of traditional farm to become multifunctional, outline a business model canvas portraying the design of a successful multifunctional farm. Of course, these tools are available at our website. Mainly the readiness tool is an interactive tool to decide which dimension to deal with based on the resources available. Okay, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for the attention. And I would like to conclude with this aphorism of the Albert Camus, the philosopher Albert Camus: all great deeds and all great thoughts have a ridiculous beginning. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Gianluigi, for this nice presentation. And now I think it's time to, if the audience has some questions, to be open. So you can use the chat, or if you want to talk, feel free to do it.
Albert.
Good morning, Ali.
Good morning. May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for your great presentation. Could you also highlight a bit about the products that you had at the end of the project regarding these multifunctional organizations, multifunctional educational program, multifunctional students and farm, level that you mentioned? It's very interesting. Could you maybe have one or two examples regarding especially this multifunctional?
Yes, for example, okay, about the output, we had the output of the project. We have these tools that are the first output that we meant also as milestones of the project. But the main outputs of the project is the course material, but the projects delivered by students. That is about the business plan of the project idea. Some examples, for example, social and didactic farming, nurseries at the farming in order to teach how to respect the environment, how to farm with organic practices, and also to sell products by employing short food supply chain. So combining, mixing these dimensions, and also offering the opportunity to visit, I would say, the farm as an attractive point for touristic purposes. If you use your company, you exploit your company for touristic purposes, you are pushed to preserve your environments as a whole, because they represent a value for you. So no longer intensive agriculture, but something that retards values. And also the perception to deliver for touristic purposes, for example, is that you create value in terms of healthy things, in terms of beauties, preservation, and things like that. At the end of the process, in order to ensure that this, the project at the end should be sustainable, because all the action cannot end within the project. And to ensure this, we also have another output that is the help desk. That is just you go to our website and you find a team always available to be contacted to exploit our results. So anybody, we offer this service to anybody interested in, not only practitioners or somebody else. But at the end of the process, we have these projects that are available to anybody interested in, and that we are able to share this project developed by students and refined by us, that are professors, and who led the project, and the farmers as well.
Do you have any plan for follow-up, continue with this project, with the use cases, for example?
Yes, we have a follow-up, but we actually, we started working on this follow-up this year, but I was so busy, so we didn't apply for that project. But we have a follow-up to match the concept of turning multifunctional farms to digital farms. So linking these two concepts, and also to provide sort of, I would say, a guideline to match the proper digital technologies according to what you aim to achieve, you aim to offer. So kind of these ideas as a follow-up.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because also the model farmer that we have also here in Netherlands, some of them are, the one that we consider them as a field labs or model farmers are open-minded, and they are interested in this multifunctional approach, for example, for sort of rainwater harvesting, systems, in order to, in case there is enough rain, then to use it for other purposes. Because it's a kind of investment for a reservoir, at the catchment level, to harvest the rainwater, and to develop a sort of water right, water sharing, system. But in case there is enough rain, like this year, compared to the previous 2018, 19, and 2020, when there was lack of rain, effective rainfall during the growing season, then these are really interesting ideas to look at these three pillars that you mentioned, that ecotourism and other,
we know, we are definitely aware that the list of dimensions is not exhaustive at all. You can have other dimensions to be multifunctional. It's just a starting point. Of course, there are other parts to be exploited, because this is the idea is to have this systemic view of the sector, not a limited, I would say, constrained view, just using resources. It's also because the main supplier for all the economic sector is nature, and you should start from this point.
Very interesting. Thank you for a very nice overview, and I'll be in touch. Maybe we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Gianluigi. There's another question. Thank you, Gianluigi, for an interesting presentation. How many students do you expect to engage in the project?
No, the project is already through, is finished in October. Good question, because at the beginning we forecast to have more than around Europe, because we have 4 countries involved, for 400 students. But COVID changed our plan, and then these activities are best performed in presence. So we were forced to take the course online, and it's not the best thing, because you should create a kind of environment to stimulate students, to push a lot. Then at the end, we had around all the university 200 students, no more than 200 students. And but for example, in Italy, we had a very big issue with it was a language issue. So because we had at the beginning around 50 enrolled to the course, and at the end we had 20 students following the course, and because there is a language constraint, and they felt not so confident in adopting this approach, that is an international approach and competitive approach. That's something that underscores an important point, that there are many areas where the educational standards are based on old styles. I would say they shouldn't be renovated at all. That's the perception that we have.
does it mean that you also stop with delivering the course anymore?
No. Because of we talked with the project officer. We exchanged a lot with the project officer. Anyway, we had many events to disseminate these results, to disseminate the project activities. No, we didn't stop because of the pandemic. We kept on working and delivering our results. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other question? No, it seems not. So again, Gianluigi, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for this nice presentation and accepting to be one of our keynote speakers.
Okay, thank you very much, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So